learn everything you can about your equipment. Don't be afraid to embrace new technologies. You're the champion. Should also push new technologies out there to use in this with this system. Um, you know, just dig down, go beyond your role.
Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Liz McGinn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz McGinn. I'm joined here by Todd Martin, and today we will be talking about the role of a predictive maintenance champion and what it means to us. Todd, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Liz. Yeah, my name's Todd Martin, and I am in the Siemens Managed Services team currently, in the role of we provide monitoring service for the Senseye system for various customers out there. But prior to that, I was part of the Nissan maintenance team, and that brought the Senseye application online. Developed it, was monitor it and maintained, and then was able to train others in its use and pass it on.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love hearing about your background every time we get a chance to chat. All right. So why don't we just kind of jump right in? I threw out the term predictive maintenance champion, but what do we mean by that?
What do we mean by that? Well, probably I was one of those before it was ever a term or even heard it, but it's generally going to be someone in your organization that you empower probably as one of their primary duties, specifically in the maintenance department. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the maintenance department, but that is going to watch over this system, keep people engaged, make sure that it is being used to its fullest, can take things to management, but generally try and sell the product to their own company in the levels that they exist. So, since they're using predictive maintenance, management, executives were all sold on the idea of the value of it, but that needs to trickle down to the maintenance departments and the guys on the floor or close to the floor, to get them excited about it and using it and understand it for what it is. So that's probably the biggest role of a predictive maintenance champion. Is
Yeah, to really
selling
kind of
selling it to they're a salesperson that sells it to their own maintenance department.
Yeah, make it seem like this new technology that management is implementing, and to show the real value of it versus management just kind of telling you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess why is it, why is having this champion critical to success of these kind of predictive maintenance or even implementing other technologies initiative, like the initiative around that?
Well, as from personal experience, without that buy-in and getting things going, it's usually the people that are going to be dealing with the results of it also have a lot of other hats that they're wearing, responsibilities, and you know, and it's easy for it to get pushed to the side because the equipment's still running. They have other duties, whatever, and so that kind of gets moved over to the side. So without that champion to keep track and keep pushing that, hey, this is great stuff, and please check out what we got, and there's a risk of it just falling to the wayside.
Yeah. So should this champion only have like the one hat, or how would that work if they had other responsibilities?
It probably, well, if he has other responsibilities, then depending on the size of the organization that's the monitoring and how many assets are being monitored, if you've got a small number, the champion can cover it plus other duties. But when it starts to get more, he either has to be pretty much his full-time job keeping up with it, or it's a good portion of it, or you have to have multiple champions.
Yeah. So So when you were kind of this champion role, was this your main focus, or did you have other people also helping?
No, it was my primary focus for a number of months after onboarding the system. Um, so
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, kind of that focus we want. Personally, we want people focused from a Senseye point of view. So, but it's nice to see that other companies can kind of see that value.
mhm.
Did you have difficulties, or does companies have difficulties kind of resonating or understanding the need to have this champion between to kind of make this focus of the new technology? And if so, how would you go about talking to companies about it?
Um, let's see. That's a good question. You know, how many? I haven't dealt with a whole lot of other companies. Of course, there was times that we, benchmark with, with other companies to show them the value of Senseye and predictive maintenance. Um, with that, we brought that to the table. Um, as far as we were pretty alone when we started the predictive maintenance journey with Senseye and all that. So we didn't have the opportunity to benchmark with anybody else to see how they were using it. We knew our sister plant who had piloted it at first had great success, so it was really new. So, um, you know,
Yeah. So were you? Oh, go ahead.
no, go.
I was following a different train of thought. So if you still wanted to follow on that one,
Oh
I'm
well,
good
I
to
don't
hold
know.
my.
I have my train of thought drifts sometimes.
You're good. Mine too. I
Um,
was just going to ask, were you chosen or did you kind of volunteer in this champion role? And then
oh,
um, we'll start with that one.
well, I guess it's kind of weird. You know, my skill set involves a lot of systems integration and controls design and all that. So when the necessity for the proof of concept for using predictive maintenance come there, I had a number of skill sets available to me. Programming wise that got me involved with it. But because of my deep knowledge, once I started having to pick the data that would go to Sensei, um, became quite a bit knowledgeable in different assets and what was going on in those assets. So it was natural for me to continue on in that role. I mean, there's some other things that, it was like, I was lower on seniority for the role that I had and on night shift. Well, this opportunity, you know, got me out there. So I was happy to take it on. Um, so So yeah,
Yeah, that makes
I
a lot of
wasn't voluntold, and I guess I pretty much volunteered for it. I made myself valuable to take on this role.
perfect. How would you recommend other people kind of who want to either be a champion or for companies to kind of choose these champions?
Um, well, honestly, I think they're best. The primary group that they're going to pick from are going to be newer maintenance technicians, ones that are, have only been in a short while, so they're more up to date on newer technologies. They're not the old hands who are wrench turners or screwdriver turners. They're the ones that want to deal with this cool new technologies, and they love it. And so picking those kind of people and getting them excited about it, and that's their opportunity to really move forward. That's a big sell for them, and they will be excited about it. And then hopefully they
Yeah.
can,
So I guess no, go ahead.
oh, and hopefully they'll pass that excitement on, and it'll be contagious.
Nice. I guess that was going to be my follow-up question is how difficult is these champions to kind of sell it to these workers who've been there for years. You mentioned they were like wrench turners. How easy is it for of a sell for these newer guys to kind of come in and want to change up the status quo? I know as
Oh,
someone who's been to the new person many times, it sometimes not the best reception when I recommend new things.
It can be tough. It depends on how old the hands they are. If you've got you've got you've got a maintenance department that's got decades in there, and you have guys that have been there decades. Um, you know, hey, they did without it for 20 plus years. What's the benefits? And they're just the resistance to technologies. They probably just started using cell phones. um, but no, but it can be tougher. The more mature the maintenance team is, the tougher the sell can be, and it's going to have to be results.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of talking about that results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess what are some of the other challenges that they might champions might face when kind of jumping into this, other than trying to get these old hands kind of into the new technology? But are there other challenges that they would have to stay on the lookout for?
Sure. Administrative type of things. I mean, generally, your maintenance techs are not administrative types. It's that documentation and paperwork, and keeping well, basically just documenting everything. They're used to being out there and hooking up a laptop to the piece of equipment and looking at it and fixing code, um, turning screwdrivers, just in switches. It gets to a challenge where, you know, documenting things, the administrative side is a little bit of a challenge. I know it is for me. I want to be on the code, and I want to be adjusting switches and tuning the machines out and all that, and doing all that other stuff is like, uh,
Completely understandable. All the boring paperwork on the other side still needs to be done, so that makes
absolutely.
sense. Um, so when you were jumping into this kind of uninformed, non-formal champion role, could you kind of go in how you got the buy-in from your other teammates?
Um, well, I mean, the biggest buy-in wasn't to the teammates so much as it was to their direct management. All right, you've got a tiered system here. You've got maintenance techs, supervisors, managers, department managers, section managers, and then the director levels and all that. So, you know, sometimes you just can't do anything with the maintenance techs, especially if they've been there a lot longer than myself. There was that level of respect or belief in my abilities wasn't there. You know, that's understandable. It is what it is. So you really need to start working down and working up from there. If you having difficulties with the techs, you start working with the maintenance supervisors and showing the value there, getting that information out. Hey, I'm seeing this going wrong, and unfortunately, you're going to get ignored, especially at the beginning, and and then things happen, and then it starts changing things, and you just and then once you have enough things, the techs start listening more.
Yeah,
But
so it's all about kind of that value portion of it.
yep, just the value, and to do the value,
Hmm.
you got to keep up with it and trust it.
That's yeah. I guess let's kind of dive into that a little bit of that
Mm.
trust. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. There's always going to be this thing people hold back here. Can this software tell me something's going wrong with it? It just cannot be that good. It can't, but it can, and it just takes time and unfortunately enough little failures, to happen. Even though they were told based off of the results on here, um, you know, eventually the mindset does change. It took a little while in the previous job where I started it out, but a couple, two or three ignores and major breakdowns because of it. And after that, start sending out these notices. Hey, this is you got a problem. The attention is immediate at that point.
Yeah, people start paying attention when you've already predicted the things, kind of like a weatherman.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. So how did your organization or other organizations measure the success of the predictive maintenance initiatives and the champions' contributions? Or was it kind of I don't want to say thankless job because obviously everyone, you know, appreciated, but also like how was the
Yeah.
success measured?
Well, I guess the champion really needs to be happy with the success that they know that they're doing on there. I mean, you're going to get a great job and all that, but chances are you're not going to be the one that comes out as a hero. The application's the hero. You know, I'm doing my job, but the success is any predictive is how much downtime did we avoid, and that's where the champion shines. Is that they're going to keep on that, recover the necessary information to document that, to show that success in savings.
Yeah.
But
Are there other successes that maybe? Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to ask if there's like other successes that the maintenance champion would see with maybe within their teammates. Is there any kind of value of like planning downtime or anything like that other than just putting kind of out those fires or
Well,
pouring them out before they become fires?
well, it does. It depends on what you're looking at. You can push that the system is detecting certain things, and you can make adjustments to how you do your maintenance. Um, the champion's going to be the one that's going to be retrieving all that information from the system and correlating it and providing it to the maintenance planners and all that. Um, so I guess I never thought along those lines. I just, okay, well, here's what we're seeing. You know, you need to go clean this. It's not about to break down, but it's getting dirty. You should probably clean it before it starts getting damaged.
Yeah,
And
I
that's a good
just
feeling when you
as a
help.
person, yeah. Well, I was also thinking like as I'm, I kind of a little bit compare it to cars. So if my car's telling me the oil is gonna, whatever, it kind of saves me the hassle of, my car breaking down because my oil goes out. Like I guess it just saves kind of my hide a little bit. So I was wondering if there was a little bit of like that within your team.
Um, yeah, I mean, you know, some of the major things that can happen. I mean, it is, the techs begin to realize that, hey, I didn't have to fix this when it was already broken in the middle production where they're screaming to get, the product out the door. And, it's much safer for me to do my job under these conditions. When I'm not scrambling in the middle of my shift, maybe the weekend guys have to deal with it, or, not me. And they can see that value. It makes their job a little easier. Anytime you can fix it when it's not broken, or do the work on it when it's not broken yet, your job's a whole lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's kind of do a 180 there. So if there is no champion, what's bound to happen? Is there certain risks or pitfalls if that happens?
Oh yeah, the biggest one is the alerts are ignored because there's nobody actively monitoring it on a regular basis. Even though a lot of predictive maintenance will give you potentially weeks um, lead time on something going on, um, if nobody's looking at it or going through and you know doing the work to dig into it, I mean, it's not a magic crystal ball. It tells you something's going on. You have to decide whether it actually is something going on, and to get the equipment experts involved to see what's going on. All those steps have to be taken, and then without anybody monitoring, none of that happens. And then boom, you get a breakdown, and you go back and look. Well, why didn't the system tell us that it was going on? Well, you go back. Well, it did, but y'all didn't look at it. So, yeah, that's the biggest danger right there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we definitely companies would really want someone to be looking at this technology if they're going to use it or if they're going to try to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What advice would you give to someone who wants to become a champion in their organization?
Well, go to your management and say, "Hey, I want to do this." Or basically, they instead of initially becoming the champions, they put themselves out there as the guys that are going to be in there reviewing um, the things that are coming out of the system. Do it, just doing it. Ask for access, and then start getting in there, and then they can prove their worth. That, hey, I did see this. I went out and investigated it on my own. That'll get proof that not only that you want to do it, but that you are capable of doing it as well.
Yeah, making sure you have the skill set and then showing that you can actually do it. Do you think that the champion is its own job role, or is it kind of affiliated, just a maintenance tech who then kind of transitions into
Um,
this champion role by monitoring things?
Probably there probably already somebody in each maintenance department that's a little bit more. They're more tech oriented, um, digital orientation. I don't know what's a good term for it, but it's that that's you know better suited for it.
Mhm.
Usually, you'll know them. They're the ones that are sitting out there. In the case, one of my past things was I was what's called a maintenance specialist. Not quite the maintenance engineer, but above the floor techs. So our role was because to have the higher level diagnostic capabilities and troubleshooting capabilities.
Okay.
So
So
those are
really,
the kinds that might gravitate towards being these champions.
yeah, someone who's already kind of looking into the extra technology already to make
Yeah.
life a
Yep.
little bit easier.
Yep.
Nice. So on the other side, what should leadership do to support and empower their predictive maintenance champions?
Um, Listen to what they say. If they're putting out, if they're doing the legwork and they're getting these results, and they're determining that this is something that needs to be worked on, back them up, support them in what they find, and pushing it down the ladder and getting it resolved and taken care of. Um, you know, because if they're not getting any support and they're just putting out report after report that nobody does anything with, it gets kind of, eh, why am I even doing this? Nobody's listening in anyways, that just getting
Yeah,
that support from their management and it being pushed down.
yeah. Just having the backing of management can make it a lot easier to kind of champion something along and use those resources to help.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So those are my main questions. Is there anything you'd like to add to any
Oh,
champions or any advice about predictive maintenance or anything before we kind of wrap up here?
that's a good question. What would I say to oncoming? Learn everything you can about your equipment. Um, don't be afraid to embrace new technologies. You're the champion. should also push new technologies out there to use in this with this system. Um, you know, just dig down, go beyond your role.
Awesome. Do you have any recommendations of when people are looking for new technology on where to look?
Oh boy. Hmm. Well, any search engine, and probably nowadays, Copilot, the chat GPAs make searching out for these things, a whole lot easier. You don't have to word it exactly the way somebody else worded it. It's taking it in. So I would, you know, I was of the mindset in the past not to use those kind of things because I felt it was a crutch, but something that it's a time saver, especially if you already know how to do
Mm-hmm.
the thing. So use those tools to go out there and look for technologies that, if I've got X is breaking, what's the best way to detect it? And then once it tells you, here's some things possibly, dig in and research them. How do I implement these? Can I implement them?
Perfect. That sounds like great advice, especially if people are looking to further their career or are just getting started into it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with me today and joining to talk about champions.
I'm glad to.
I really appreciate your background and all of your advice.
All right. Well, thank you. And thanks for the opportunity.
Alrighty,
All
have a
right.
great one.
All right. You as well. All right. Bye bye.
Alrighty, bye bye.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.